Hello and welcome to Mabinda TV. Basically, I'll be looking at what will it take for Kenyan musicians to match the likes of Diamond, Davido, Burna Boy, Whiskey, Diamond Platinums. What will it take Kenyan musicians to match the stature of Whiskey, Burna Boy, Davido, and Diamond Platinum? So, what can we do? Of course, our own musicians are trying, but they have not reached those levels of the likes of Diamond. And so, what needs to happen? First of all, pay our musicians better. They don't get any royalties from their music. We don't play Kenyan music on our FM stations, on our radio. We don't play Kenyan music. I think it's only a few stations. Maybe you have NRG which plays Kenyan music every Friday, and then you have 254 radio which plays Kenyan music. But other than that, the other radio stations don't play Kenyan music. So if we play Kenyan music, and then basically we will be able to amplify the Kenyan sound. Of course, some say that the argument, and this is a tired argument, that Kenyan music is not simply good. That's why FM stations don't play them. But who will play them? And I think basically we need that. Eric Omondi is pushing for 75% Kenyan music on our FM stations. That's what Eric Omondi is pushing for. That is 75% Kenyan music on our FM stations. So I think that needs to happen so that then. Of course, some say our music is not high quality, but what kind of songs that they only sing indecent things? But also the likes of Beyonce, Rihanna, the likes of Jay Z, P Diddy, they sing about very indecent things, but people still buy their music. I don't think it's a fair enough argument to make that the Kenyan music is not simply up to scratch. Of course, some Tanzanians do make love songs, and of course, Kenyans basically Kenyans can make good music. Look at the likes of Nyasinski. Look at the likes of Calligraph Jones. Look at Bien. Look at Willie Paul. They can go international. So what we need to do is to promote their music. Remember, musician Bien of Saudi Soul says, in a place such as Sweden, someone can live off doing a voiceover for an advert for their entire life. So you can imagine how highly they are paid. He says that in an interview that in Sweden, a performer, a voiceover artist can live off their revenues from their voiceover of an advert for the entirety of their life. So that means that for us to be able to develop Kenyan content, Kenyan music, and then we just have to pay people better. I think it is Calligraph Jones who shared out his YouTube earnings. Basically, he was getting only 3,000 shillings per year, and that's something that we just need to be able to iron out so that we can have basically we can have music that sells. So that's how we are gonna change the face of the industry. That's how we are going to effect change by playing Kenyan music, paying them better royalties. Clubs and matatus should be paying Kenyan musicians. Clubs don't pay Kenyan, don't pay, and I think that's why they are making roaring profits. Radio stations delay in payment of our musicians and artists. I think. Clubs delay, discos delay, matatus that are playing Kenyan music, they need to be paying royalties to Kenyan music, and I think if we paid them basically well, Kenyan musicians will hire bands, they will have the latest equipment, and then they will be training. Music should be a full-time career. There's no reason why we are saying that you should be look at the likes of Bahati. He left music and now he is doing content creation. So basically, that shows maybe so music is not paying, and so maybe so he could do content creation, and that is something that we basically need to follow through. And I think and that is something that we need to follow through. I think if we did Kenyan music, then it will be important upon us to be able to have a music that can pay, and then also have auditoriums. We don't have auditoriums in Kenya where our artists can perform. We don't have. I think that's what Abel Mutua says. We don't have auditoriums. We need auditorium to hold even up to indoor auditoriums to hold even up to 100,000 pounds, but we don't have that. Look at in sports. The Chan Federation Cup had to be postponed because we don't have stadiums, and I think if we don't have indoor arenas, if we don't have indoor auditoriums in which our musicians can perform, then basically we are not creating the right kind of environment for our musicians to survive, and I don't think it augurs well for the country. And I think for a country to be a superpower, you need political power, economic power, and social cultural power. So political power, economic power, and social cultural power. So the low-hanging fruit for Kenya and maybe even for Africa is social cultural power. Basically, that is, we can have our music spread all across the world, our movies, our music, so that then people can, that is, win our hearts and minds. Look at Hollywood. Hollywood exists for no other purpose than to paint that America is a land of milk and honey, that American streets are paved with gold. That's what Hollywood does, and I think we can also make Kenyan, that is Riverwood. We can make Kenyan Riverwood to be a place where we can export our culture, and if we export our culture, then that's the way to be earning. Look at how many people a musician can support. Look at the dancers, look at the performers, look at the songwriters, look at the producers. All these people will be supported by the music industry. And so when we make it possible that our musician can flourish, then that's the way to be able to lift our entertainment industry. Of course, now you have what the spat between Willie Paul and Diamond Platnumz. Of course, it was unnecessary. Of course, you have Kasipul blaming the promoters as well as the musicians for the failure by Diamond to perform. But of course, Willie Paul is saying Diamond cannot outsmart him in his own land. Basically, that's the argument by Willie Paul, that he was set to perform at the same time. I think they were booked at the same time. So basically, the organizer of Raha Fest, that is Willis Raburu, maybe should tell us what really transpired. Of course, Diamond Platinumz was paid 20 million shillings even without performing, and of course, maybe should also apologize to Kenyan fans for eating all that money without performing. So that's it. That is it for now. Basically, I will argue that we need to be able to lift up Kenyan music. That's the way we will be able to develop the social cultural power of Kenya. And then in ideas, I'm looking at why are engineers moving to high finance and consulting. That is, why are engineers moving to high finance and consulting? Basically, careers in high finance and consulting do pay well, and so why are engineers moving to careers in high finance and consulting? Basically, I think an engineer is very good in quantitative skills, so basically they can do very well. They are very analytical, so that's why lots of engineers. So basically, the career path of an engineer in Africa is basically strained, where they can be where an engineer in Africa can basically they can maybe be a maintenance engineer or a sales engineer. That's mostly the career path of an engineer in Africa. We don't have Boeing, we don't have Toyota, we don't have Toyota, we don't have Tesla, we don't have Google in Africa. So basically, engineers in Africa, they essentially need, we need to create high-level projects in Africa so that our engineers then will be able to get the critical skills needed they will be able to get the critical skills needed in order to basically enhance their skills. We don't have, and that's why when you just teach in class theoretical skills, so how then do engineers get skills? And that's why maybe they flock to high finance and consulting. A lot of financial institutions like engineers because of their quantitative skills, because they can be trained easily, and that's how they can work. That's how they can they can then contribute meaningfully to the economy. We need engineers. If Africa is to become a 21st century economy, we need engineers, and that's how we'll be able to develop the country. That's how Africa is going to move forward, basically by having engineers that is stick to the profession rather than running away to high finance and rather than running away to high finance and consulting. So that's it. Then in Africa perspectives, I'm looking at in Africa press review. Once Africa's richest woman, Isabel dos Santos, is going to contest for the seat in once Africa's richest woman, Isabel dos Santos of Angola, is going to contest for the presidency in Angola. So basically, Isabel dos Santos, she became the richest woman in Africa after her dad, President then Eduardo dos Santos, placed her as the head of the Petroleum Revenue Authority in Angola. So the dad of Isabel dos Santos, that is Eduardo dos Santos, placed her daughter that is Isabel dos Santos as the head of the Petroleum Revenue Authority, and she diverted public funds to her own personal bank accounts, and that's how she became the richest woman. And you can be sure, and I think it is noted that the bank that facilitated the transfer of illicit money from Africa, from Angola to her bank accounts was a Portuguese bank. That is why I always say behind every mega corruption scandal in Africa, behind every mega corruption scandal in Africa, there is a Western wheeler dealer involved. That's just it. Behind every mega corruption scandal in Africa, there is a Western wheeler dealer involved, and that's why we need to make sure that then we can enable Africa to be able to keep its money right here at home. That's how we will get to develop Africa. Otherwise, our money is being swindled, and it is unfortunate that in Africa, the way to get rich, the way to get to be a billionaire is by being close to power. It is not by your creative genius trick, it is not by hard work, it is not by talent, it is not by rare skill. The way to get rich in Africa is by being close to power. Look at the billionaire ministers in Kenya. Look at the billionaire ministers in Kenya. Look at William Kabogo showing us his net worth is 3.01 billion shillings. And basically, these people cannot show you a single product they invented, a single service they invented, and that's what is wrong with our politics. That basically our people are the quickest way to get rich in Africa is by being close to power. Nothing tangible you have achieved, nothing nothing innovative innovative you come up with. It is just by basically our people that is I will be close to power, I will find my way to politics. Politics is very lucrative. You wonder how is someone a billionaire without having a single product. And I think oligarchs have captured Africa. Not of course President Biden in America want that oligarchs have captured America, but the same is true for Africa. Oligarchs have captured Africa, such that the quickest way to make money, the quickest way to get rich in Africa is by being by being close to power. That's just how very much lopsided the meritocracy in Africa is. We don't have a meritocratic system, and that's why when someone sees it's very hard. When you try to tell a young person in Africa, that you could succeed without stealing by your own merit, your own merit, by hard work. They look at you with blank stares. What are you dreaming about? What are you sick in your mind? Because our richest people are the politicians, basically, who steal public money, and then we suffer for it. So you can be sure that Isabel dos Santos could be president when she has no agenda for the people of Angola. She became the richest woman simply because her dad was president and placed her as the head of the Petroleum Revenue Authority. So you can see this is how politics works in Africa. We don't have people that are in depth invested in the deep issues of the day. We don't have people that have an infrastructure plan, people that have a jobs plan, people that have an healthcare plan. We don't have these people in politics in Africa. We basically have people accumulating money and wealth. And that's how the African miracle story becomes a deferred dream. The African miracle story becomes a deferred dream simply because of that, and I will hope that that really changes and that really impacts our lives. So bye for now. Till then, of course, I'll be looking at making America. Who will be the next leader of the Democratic Party? That is, who will be the next leader of the Democratic Party. So the Democratic Party has lost power. Donald Trump is going to be sworn in on January 20th. That's on Monday. Basically, Donald Trump will be sworn in on January 20th. And for the Democrats, it's a time that they are looking at themselves and wondering, where did the rain start beating us? Maybe that's what the Democrats are doing. They are looking at themselves and wondering, where did the rain start beating us? Of course, some have said it is going to be Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who belongs to the progressive wing of the Democrats, but it also needs to be someone that has roots to the working class. And I think Democrats pandered to both the billionaire class and the working class, and they were confused. They did not have an identity. Look at the labor unions in America. They did not endorse anyone. The labor unions in America never endorsed anyone simply because they thought that the Democrats had abandoned them, and that was a win for Donald Trump, because basically the Republicans are a party of the corporation. They are a party of the capitalists. They are not a party of the working class. So they protect the interests of the corporation. That's what the Republicans are. So basically, when you have Democrats that have simply abandoned the working class. That's what Bernie Sanders says, and I think Bernie Sanders, in a forum at the Harvard Institute of Politics, says that in the last 50 years, the poorest 90% of Americans have transferred at least $50 trillion to the top 1% of Americans. So you can imagine that in America, it is simply about gerrymandering. It is simply about fortunes being transferred from the working class to the billionaire class, and it's not working. Of course, someone will say that these people are really innovative or creative geniuses, but that's not it. Look at Elon Musk. Elon Musk is now looking for government contracts. Simply, he supported Donald Trump, and he is now going to get a government contract. So basically, is he in business? Of course, he will be heading the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. And so, will he be in Donald Trump's cabinet? Will he be in Donald Trump's cabinet simply because he is good at what he does, or simply because he will be looking for contracts for Tesla? And remember, Donald Trump does not like electric cars. So how will that play out? Of course, in terms of SpaceX, he will be getting federal contracts. That's why the other billionaires are also flocking to Donald Trump. Of course, you heard Facebook announce that it will be disbanding its fact-checking team. That's what Facebook said. It will be disbanding its fact-checking team and replacing it with Facebook said it will be disbanding its fact-checking team and replacing it with community notes. I think that's what X does, and so Facebook does that. So you see billionaires kowtowing towards Donald Trump. You have, I think, Amazon. You had Amazon founder Jeff Bezos buying the Washington Post, and then they say they are not going to be doing editorials about Donald Trump anymore. So you can see how billionaires are trooping to Donald Trump. So America is also becoming like Africa, where it is oligarchs that have captured the economy. So that means then it needs to, we Americans, the Democrats need to find a person that can basically lift up their soul. And of course, they have to pander to the working class. That's the way they are going to be. They have to pander to the working class. That's the way they are going to really be hard on it so that then they can pander to the working class. Remember, they need to scheme not just from national politics but also scheme from maybe a regional or a local politics. That's the way they need to do. They need to concentrate on state and local politics. At least that's what the Transportation Secretary Pet Buttigieg says, that they need to be able to go all the way to local politics in order to improve America. So that's it for now, and I will hope that maybe Democrats can return to their true sense of the working class. Because remember, the last three Democrat presidents have all been corporate centers. Think about think about Bill Clinton. Think about Barack Obama. Think about Joe Biden. They have all been corporate centers, and that is that they cater to the corporation. And I think when Ronald Reagan said that the government is the problem, let it get out of the way, what he meant is that he didn't mean that the corporation should fill in that void. When Ronald Reagan said the government is the problem, let it get out of the way, he didn't mean that it is the corporation that should instead be the panacea to American problems. So that's it for now. Bye for now. Till the next time. Bye for now.